You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
We are the Mad Men of Masculinity.
Your home for healthy masculinity. We're just real men having real conversations for you.
You can't handle the truth.
Do you want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want the truth? You can't handle the truth. Hey, speaking of the truth, why don't you go to your page and hit share, man? You know what I'm saying? Sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring, and we are building something here. We're building a community, a tribe. We're building a group of people that are thinkers and that think outside the box, that get outside of our paradigms, and we're not afraid to explore what the real truth is. Because I am Kirk M. Samuel.
And I am Jason B. Kendrick.
And we are the Mad Men of Masculinity.
That's right. We're just real men having real conversations for you. Right there.
That's right.
Just you. Not anybody else, just you.
Know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Know what I'm saying? So, yeah, hit that subscribe button. It don't cost you not a daggone thing, man. It don't cost you a penny. It don't cost you a dime. It don't cost you nothing but a little bit of boop. That's all you got to do is hit the subscribe, like, share, all that kind of good stuff, and help move this thing forward. That is your job today. Our job is to bring the truth, even if you can't handle it. Your job is to hit subscribe.
Yeah, we're here for the thinkers, not the sheeples, not the people who just watch the news, and we're here for the people who actually think for themselves and have their own opinions. So we're gonna bring some things that you might have to chew on and think about. Speaking of, what are we talking about today?
I don't know, man, but it just hit me, man. We are here for the thinkers, not the Kool-Aid drinkers.
That's right.
What we talking about today, man? You know, this myth, man. There's a myth out there, and you know, it is proliferating throughout the masses. This myth, this cultural phenomenon that people, you talk about the Kool-Aid that people are drinking. The Kool-Aid is that relationships are 50-50.
Man, that's some sweet Kool-Aid, but it'll rot your teeth out and don't end in a good result. Let me tell you what, not so.
It ain't a thing. Hey, guess what? This book here.
That book right there.
This book here, 7 Secrets of Modern Dating, the he said, she said guide to getting from single to spouse. Man, it made it so it's 7 steps, right? Number 6 is, if I can get to it, you know what I'm saying? This is in the moment. Boom, number 7. The 7th step is go all in. And then when you turn the page, the very first thing we talk about is the fact that relationships are 50-50. Wrong. Let me see that right there.
Wrong.
Boom. Wrong. They 50-50. They 100.
That's right.
100.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit last night. We'll dig into it. We're gonna try to condense this down for all our ADD folks out there, our thinkers that like to keep it quick and streamlined. But you know, when it comes down to 50-50, a 50-50 relationship is a dating relationship or it's a trauma relationship, because you're so afraid of being hurt again. You don't want to go in 100%. You're afraid that this is going to be just like all the other ones. But what happens is when you go in 50, when you only bring half of yourself, when you only bring that traumatized pain body to the relationship, you're just going to create the same old relationship that you had in the past. So if you're wondering why I keep meeting the same people in different bodies and we have the same relationship, common denominator might be you.
That's because you're hurt. That's because you're wounded. That's because you're scared. You're scared. I'm afraid of getting hurt. So I'm going to go in my 50. And when they put in their 50, then we'll have 100. Yeah, that's because you're operating out of lack. You're operating out of poverty. You're operating out of everything you didn't have. But when you step into everything that you should be, everything that you could be, when you get healed, when you heal the wounds and they become scars from the past, then you step in with all in, man. You go all in with 100, all chips in.
Yeah. What we talk about so much with personal responsibility, and a lot of that personal responsibility comes to knowing who you are, knowing your past traumas, doing something about them. 'Cause, I mean, knowing them is the first step. You know, it's like, hi, I'm Jason, I'm this. That's the first step. Like, okay, I know I have these things. But you got to do something about it. And if you keep having the same relationships over and over again, you keep having the same traumas, you keep having the same failed relationships, it's because you haven't dealt with whatever it is that is causing you to have those same relationships, to attract those same people, to have the same outcome, because you haven't healed the traumas of the past, you haven't healed those wounds, and so you have to take some personal responsibility. Hello, people, kids, personal responsibility. It means you have to go, hey, maybe I have some issues that I need to work out, and I need to look deep into my shadow self, deep into my garden, and dig through those roots and go, this is from the past. I do not need to bring this to the future. And if you do the work, then you have some wisdom. You no longer have the pain of the past, because a memory without the emotional attachment is wisdom. So you've worked on those things. And now you can come into the relationship going, I know who I am. I know what I've been through. And now I know what I can bring to this relationship. And when you have that wisdom and work through your traumas, you can see your partner in a different light too, because you can say, oh, they have some traumas, but that's not about me. I can support them while they heal that.
Fellas, you definitely do not want to be with a woman who ain't ready to be all in,
Oh,
who
man.
is not 100%. You don't want that, fellas. You don't want that. You don't want that. You don't want that, because she gonna hold back and she gonna, wait for you to be doing something that whatever, and then she goes, "See, I told you, you're just like, you're just like Chet. You're just like Brad. Brad did the same exact thing." We should call Brad. We should. The bad guy's always Brad. Um, every girl's got
I
a
thought it was
Brad in their
Hans,
past. Every girl's got a Brad in their past, and every dude's got a Crystal.
right?
Anyhow, but the point being is, fellas, you don't want a woman who ain't ready to be all in, and women, you definitely do not want a guy who is not ready to be all in. Now, how do you find somebody that's not ready to be all in? Is you got to be ready to be all in, and you got to be ready so that you can effectively bring that type of person to you. You come to the table which you want somebody else to come to the table with. You want somebody else coming to the table ready to be all in with you as you're all in.
And when you talk about relationships being 100, 100, when you come in at 50, if you do the math, it's simple. If you're saying, okay, I'm only going to bring 50% of myself, that means effectively you're asking your partner to bring in 100%, because that relationship, that third entity that you're creating when the two of you come together, needs 100, 100. That's a 200% entity. But when you're like, I'm just going to bring 50 because I don't know, well, that means you're just expecting your partner to bring in not just 100, but 150 to make up the difference, and
Right.
you're already at a disadvantage. And so what you're going to end up doing is draining that poor person, and they're not going to last very long, end up ghosting you, because they're like, well, juice is not worth a squeeze. They're not bringing in all themselves. I'm doing my best to support them. I'm bringing all myself, but it's just not enough.
Right. And so when you have Brad who still wants to
Poor
date
Brad.
other chicks, right. When you have Brad that comes in and he wants to, keep dating other chicks, and he wants to, keep his option open and all that kind of stuff. Or when you with Crystal and Crystal or April, either one of those, when you got Crystal and Crystal's like, I don't know, or she's kind of in and out and all that kind of stuff, it ain't gonna work. Hey, by the way, if you're watching us live right now, you can hit comment on our Facebook page or right under this video, and we'll see your comments up there, and we'll make you famous. But you know that if you're part of the tribe, part of the crew. But I'm telling you, man, this is a concept that is a misnomer. It's a myth. It's a fantasy that when you enter a relationship, you should be prepared to put in your 50 as they put in your 50, their 50, and then all of a sudden somehow that equals out to be 100. It doesn't work that way. That ain't relationship math.
Well, and why we do this show and why we talk so much and why we get so much smoke is because we're talking about the actual natural human dynamic of masculine and feminine energy. It means the man brings 100% of himself and his masculine energy, the woman brings 100% of herself and her feminine energy, and you bring those in together and you work together in symbiosis and synchronicity to create that bond and that loving, caring relationship that creates a family, creates the foundation for a family. Then you bring in children, and you both
Mhm.
bring in 100% for the kids, and then you bring, all of yourself for those kids, and then those kids end up adding to that family. So you're creating a home, you're creating a foundational base, but that requires you to come in 100%. So you have to have a conquistador mindset and come in and go, you know what, we're all in on this, we're burning the ships, there's no exit plan, whatever goes wrong, we're going to work it out. We're going to work it. Ladies, 78% of divorces are filed by y'all. That means you're not willing to work it out. You're going, I don't feel the butterflies, I'm out. I don't feel whatever, or he didn't turn out the way I thought he would, or I couldn't fix him and turn him into what I thought he would, so I'm out. If you're going to be in a relationship, a long-term relationship, and you want to have a family, you want to get married, that means you bring all of yourself and you don't bounce at the first sign of trouble.
You know why that happens? That happens because we value fireworks and not campfires. See, we value the boom, the bang, the pretty in the sky entertainment and the percussion, the way it makes us feel. And we value that in our culture. We value the quick stuff that, you know, you hit a button and it's up in the air and it's boom and it sparkles and all that other kind of stuff. We value that. We don't value the campfire. The campfire analogy is you build the campfire together. And you have one person, you have the other person, and the campfire is the thing that you two share, and that is the relationship. Now, when you are all in 50-50, see the fireworks, boom, they make you feel good, but then they're gone. But the campfire, when you're both there and you're both going all in 100, then it's our job to feed the campfire. It's our job to keep the campfire alive, both of our jobs, because we both depend on that campfire for heat, for protection, for provision, for all of those things that we all seek in relationship. And so that campfire is going to burn. It's going to live as long as we feed it, as long as we give it all of the things that it needs. You know, the fuel, the air, the source. I mean, so all those kinds of things are things that we both provide completely, and it never in the moment feels like 50%. It never in the moment feels like, well, in the moment, it definitely doesn't feel like, well, I'm only giving 50. It feels like you're giving 100%. It feels like, you know, the other person is not quite giving their 50. There are moments where it feels like you're doing more than the other person, or you're putting in more than the other person, all those kinds of things. And so we can't go by the feelings of just the boom, bang. We got to go by the commitment, the work that it takes to get there. And I'm speaking from experience, man. I mean, I was a firework spectator, you know, man. I was addicted to the fireworks. I mean, that's why my past is what it is. So these are the things that we're talking about, changing the dynamic going forward.
Yeah, and if you want any little bit of evidence, if you're scientifically minded, like, well, where's the statistics? Where's the evidence? Well, there are more successful relationships in the East that are set up relationships. I don't know where that word went, but when
Arranged marriages.
the arranged marriages, why do arranged marriages work better than the marriages of choice and love that we have here in the West? Well, because you come in the West with all, well, I will if, and he better show up, and all those different things. Where when they get arranged marriages, they don't know each other from anybody else. They just come in, and so now they're learning who they are. They're in there for the long term, and maybe that's just a societal thing. That's just how they grow up. But their relationships are more successful, and usually through that time they have a deeper, more intimate, loving relationship because they're all in, they're committed, and they're willing to work it out. So what I've heard from all the people I know that have had successful relationships is that each trial, each tribulation, each challenge becomes the newest brick to their foundation. Once they get through then the next thing they're like, oh well, we got through that. I bet you we can get through the next thing, and then the next thing, and the next thing. And that's what builds that glue, that builds that strong foundation of the relationship, and also creates the deep, intimate love. Because once you get through things together, once you go through those things together and you survive and come out stronger on the other side, now you're even greater whole. Now you're even a stronger relationship, a stronger couple, and a stronger family.
Yeah. And it's about the commitment to us in the long picture, in the long term. It's about the commitment to the teamwork that makes the dream work. It's about the commitment to the we is greater than me in the long term. And sometimes, even in a situation, a household, a relationship dynamic where there are two ridiculously successful people, there's always an opportunity. There's always times when one person maybe takes the step back in order for the other person to maybe take a step forward. I mean, it's that it plays out going through a door, going through a doorway, man. It's like somebody takes a step back and allows the other person to go through for the long-term success of us, for the long-term success of the campfire, for the long-term success of this team that we're building, again, where the me is less than the we. The me in the context of the relationship is serving the we. And that's the whole purpose of me joining my me with your me to create a we, so that we can be dope. But we can't be dope if every day I'm focusing on me and what is this person doing for me? And I need to find somebody that makes me feel this way and does all these things for me, and me. And we do all this on social media.
Mm-hmm. And I hate to have a truth bomb right here, but a lot of you ladies out there today are going to be alone with your cats and out of relationships because you've forgotten how to be feminine. And you're like, I can do it all by myself. I'm a strong, independent woman. Well, a masculine man does not want a strong, independent woman. He wants interdependence. He wants a woman in her feminine so he can be in his masculine, so he can provide and protect her and create a foundation for her to turn into a home. He provides the building, she makes it a home. He provides the food, she turns it into a meal. Now, I know some of you be like, but I'm busy working too. Well, that's fine. Whatever you're doing, however your dynamic, your relationship is, you bring 100% of yourself, he brings 100% of himself, and then you work together. And sometimes, like Kirk said, sometimes you switch leadership. Sometimes he lets you lead because you have the strength in that situation. Sometimes you let him lead because that's where he's has the strength and he has the wisdom. But and each time you're both 100% in. And what's interesting, we talked to so many ladies who are just sick and tired of doing 100%. They're sick and tired of making the money, sick and tired of raising the kids, sick and tired of being all by themselves. And they think that bringing on somebody else is actually going to increase their load. But really, if you come into it in a 100% mindset, they're going to lighten your load. So if you want that 50-50, it's going to be 100% of you coming in, 100% of him coming in, and now you're working together. And now it feels like each of you are only doing 50% because you're both 100% in, taking on that load together, working together as a team.
As opposed to looking for the other person to be doing whatever. And so you're more focused on their 50 than your 50 when you live in a 50-50 mindset. I saw this post going around a few times, and I didn't bring this up yesterday because it just popped into my head. I've seen this quoted by actually a few people now, and they all happen to be women, ironically, but it was about somebody that you should date. And it's date someone who values you so much that they would never put themselves in a position to lose you. Date someone who understands that children need to be blah, blah. Date someone who refuses to entertain any other person other than you. Date someone who would rather spend an evening binging your favorite shows on Netflix while cuddled on the couch. Date someone who helps you heal from the trauma that nobody. I mean, you go on
me.
I've seen this. I've seen that post probably 3 or 4 times when 3 different people just copied or whatever it is. And the common theme to that, the whole thing is date somebody that makes you, that does for you, and all this other kind of stuff. And that's kind of the mentality that you have when you have a 50-50 mindset.
Yeah. When you have a mentality like that, you're not about service. You're about what you're getting. You have expectations, and expectations are the path to grudges and disquietude and guilt and basically being unhappy. What you want to have is an expectation of what you're bringing to the table, what you're bringing. So if you're like, what is he doing for me? What is she doing for me? Then you're dating. You're not about service. You're not about looking at the bigger thing. And for us guys, we always talk about purpose. And sometimes our purpose is the family. It is our wife and our children. And that is our bigger purpose. That is the we that we're serving. And so when you come into relationships 100% in service, then you will have all those rewards that you're looking for that you think you're going to get by getting through these expectations. You think, well, he's got to do this and he's got to do that and all these different things, or she's got to do this and she's got to do that. But when you come in from service and you give what you want to receive, you're going to get it back exponentially. But when you're just like, well, he's got to be this, or I'll be this if he's that way, or she's got to be this and then I'll be that. That's just coming from a lack mindset and a 50-50 mindset of trauma.
Yeah. Can I pivot a little bit?
Pivot, man.
Even pivot a lot. So first and foremost, and oh, by the way, if you do go back and circle back to our longer conversation, we absolutely delved into the fact that you don't come out of the gate just opening up everything 100% to somebody. We're not saying that right out of the gate you just expose every part of you, all the vulnerabilities, all the wounds. You don't just come and just dump on anybody. There's love bombing, as we talked about before. I mean, there's a method, there's a process of that. We're talking about when you're in the relationship, not when you're dating. The dating process is a series of trials and errors. It's a series of, I might even call it testing, not in a manipulative kind of way, but in a given receive kind of way. And so, no, we're not talking about just going all in with everything and just hoping that you don't. No. But here's my pivot. First and foremost, go check out madmenradio.com. All of your information, your questions about us can be answered right there at madmenradio.com. Bing. 50-50. There is a time when 50-50 is the case, where 50-50 can be quantified, and it's not a scenario that you want to be in, because that time, and if you're like me, you've been there, you've done that, you've experienced it, when your marriage falls apart and you begin to the dissolution of marriage process, also known as divorce. That whole breakdown of the entity, the government entity that is a marriage, that whole breakdown of that is all about making what was quote unquote 100 legally in the legal entity 50-50. So you come in saying, okay, this is how much you make. This is how much you make. Here's all the bills. Here's all your assets. Here's all your liabilities. And the whole point of that is to break all that down into 50-50. Child support. I make this much, you make this much, so much parenting time. You factor in all of the expenses that go into kids, and then whatever the plus and minus is, one person pays the other one, however much that the law says makes it all 50-50. So if you want to have a 50-50 relationship and you do it the wrong way going forward, you'll have it eventually when you find yourself in front of that judge with one person at one table and the other person at the other table, and you have your whole life reduced to percentages and to numbers and to formulas that the whole point of it is to figure out what exactly is 50-50 in this entity that used to be the marriage.
Yeah, that's all, and we'll touch on dating again too, because I know we have a lot of folks that are single, and it's all about dating. So if you are going to bring 100% of yourself to the dating world, that is the best way to find somebody who matches with you. But that 100% of yourself means you're doing counseling, you're doing therapy, you're dealing with your traumas, you know your shadow side, and you know what you're bringing to the table. When we talk about love bombing, that's not necessarily bringing 100% of yourself. That's like, uh-oh, I better grab this person because they seem nice. And that's usually where you end up, like, you dive all in. You don't get to know this person at all. That's why in the book we have 7 steps. And the first one is know thyself, basically. You got to go in before you go out. And you got to go in to know who you are. And when you are dating, bring 100% of yourself. What I see a lot now is there are a lot of really good daters. They know all the rules, they know all the tricks, they play the games, but you're not being yourself. So yeah, you can go out on all the dates you want to, but if you want to have a real connection, you've got to be yourself, and you got to be willing to be yourself and not be liked by other people, because you're not trying to find all the people, you're trying to find the person, and that person is going to like you for who you are. And for a lot of ladies who are like, well, I can't be all myself because if he sees my feminine cray cray, then maybe he's going to bounce. Well, a man who's for you is going to see your feminine cray cray and go, that's hot. That's my stuff right there. That's what I like. So bringing all of yourself to that, and hopefully he's bringing all of himself to that. Now you know exactly who each other are, and you can build something from that. When you're coming in 50-50 or half, just half of yourself because you're guarded and afraid, especially in dating, you don't know what you're getting into because he doesn't know who you are. He doesn't know how to respond, or you don't know who he is. He doesn't know you don't know how to respond to him. You got to bring all yourself so that the person across from you gets to know who you are. You, not somebody else, not what they told you to be. You.
That's genius what you said, man. There's professional daters out there. There are people who are just daters. They're not relationshipers. And those are the people who are on the dating sites for years at a time because they want to be just professional daters. And those kind of professional daters are the people that you need to find, and you need to rid them out of your life. Your dating process is making sure that you're not with a dater unless you are a dater and that's all you want. But if you want a relationship, you need to make sure that you're not with a person that is only going to bring that part of you, because that part of you, that part of them anyway, is that 50-50. That's their representative. And then once they get whatever it is they want from you, because it's all about them, those daters, whenever they get whatever they want from you, deuces, they out. They piecing out in some one way or another. They either going to sabotage a relationship, they're just going to walk away, or they can't handle it. They're all frosting and no cake, because they're all just professional daters. And so those are the people that say, okay, I'm going to need to bring my percentage and you bring your percentage. But the problem is, their percentage is a representative. Their percentage is somebody that is basically playing a game, playing a role to get some kind of thing. It's about the outcome. It's not about the input for those people.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like when you try to get a hold of somebody and you get their assistant. When you're trying to talk to the man and you get the secretary or whatever, you get the personal assistant. That's basically what you're doing when you're not bringing all of you to a date, and you're not bringing if you're just bringing 50% of yourself, that's your assistant. That's your representative. That's the mask that you wear to be cool in public. But that's not going to get you the person that's going to match with you. And that's where I think people come in with the 50-50 mindset, because it is scary to be all of yourself, to be fully who you are and show who you are to another person, especially in the dating world. I get it. It's frightening. It's scary because you're basically like, here's who I am. I hope you're not going to rip me to shreds. But you have to be willing to do that to find the person who is going to match with you. But if you're too afraid to do that, you're going to be ending up getting the same result that you've been getting. And results often harsh, always fair. How's it working for you? What are the results you've been getting? Do you want different results? You got to do something different.
And what happens is when we find those people, when we come across those people in the dating sector, especially, I mean, again, if you're the one you want a relationship, but the other person is a dater, what happens is you begin to fill in the gaps in your mind. You begin to ignore the red flags. You begin to fill in all the spaces, all of the things that they're not that you wish they were. And then you begin to see something that is not there. It becomes an illusion. It becomes like an oasis in the desert. All of a sudden, you're walking through, you're thirsty, and you see a mirage. That's exactly what it is. It's a mirage in the dating scene. And so you got to make sure that you're the type of person that is ready, that is prepared. You've done your work and you're ready to bring it all in so that you can be A, prepared for the other person that's going to bring it all in, but B, so that you can make sure that you can spot the other person who is not ready to bring it all in, and you can just move on. Like, you ain't got to drag it out or nothing. It just ain't for me. You know, it's just not a good fit. You know, bye, Felicia.
Well, and that's why in the book we gave 7 steps. We're trying to get you to take your time, and I get it. I'm guilty of it. I have love bombed. I have been so excited. I've met somebody, and then really quickly, I'm like, oh, that's not the person I made up in my head. Because I didn't take the time to listen to who they are. I didn't take time to find out who they are. I just was like, oh, I think they check all my boxes. That's why taking your time is so important. And honestly, if you're looking for a long-term, lifelong relationship, why are you in such a big hurry? If you're going to be with this person for years and decades, why are you trying to jump in a week? Why are you trying to jump in a day? Take your time and get to know them. And that will actually create a stronger foundation of the relationship than just going, oh, you're cute, I like you, but I'm all in. Oh wait, you don't like potatoes? You don't like tomato? What? Oh, I can't date somebody that don't like potatoes and tomatoes. It's a silly example, but that's kind of what we do. We just go, oh, I'm all in, move on in, but I don't know anything about you. And now I got to figure it out while we're cohabitating, and that's rough, done it, and it's a rough time to get to know somebody.
And this is why you have to be sure that the other person that you're getting into any kind of relational connection with, that they are whatever they are consistently over a period of time. And the longer they are that thing, then the more you allow them access to the deepest, most inner vault of your heart and your soul. But until they begin to prove who they are in the long term, and show that and demonstrate that, because you know, you can listen to a person's words, but to listen to a person's actions is just as equally important. But either way, the skill of listening, not just hearing, because you can hear a lot of stuff and then fill in the gaps, but to listen and actually to listen to take the thing that you're receiving and to see it deeply. That's the most important part for the long-term perspective, because otherwise you're going to end up with a person who is only willing to bring a certain percentage of themselves as long as it serves them. But until when it begins to not serve them, all of a sudden they're what used to be 50 cuts back to 45 to 40 and all these other kind of things. The next thing you know, you down to your battery on your phone is like winking like mine is, saying you got 6% left. You better plug in now. And so, you better make sure you plug in up front. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a dead battery. You better plug in after it's gone.
Yeah, and what we're talking about, if we want to break it down to one thing, we're talking about the reason people come in 50-50 is because they don't trust the other person. And really, it comes down to you don't trust yourself, and you're just projecting on the other person. The reason you don't trust yourself is because you're not willing to look at all of you and dig into those dark corners and dig out the shadows and know all of who you are and be willing to bring that to the other person. Trust takes time. Trust is like the change jar analogy. Like every time somebody does something that builds your trust, they put a ball in there, and then it fills up the jar. And after a while, that you trust that person implicitly. We all have this fairy tale idea that I'm going to meet this person and immediately they're going to check all my boxes and we're going to trust each other implicitly. But that's not what your past says. That's not the experience you had. So you're coming in with a 50-50 mentality of fear and lack, instead of coming in like, here's who I am. I'm willing to take my time. I want to get to know you and build trust together. And as you build that trust, which means you have to go through the trials and tribulations of relationship together with a together mentality, not it got rough, I'm out. Because I think the grass is greener and I can find another Chad around the corner, which you can, but he's not going to stick around either, because you're not willing to build trust and stick with this person through those things that actually creates the foundation of relationship.
Yeah, the grass is green over there because there's doo-doo over there. But I'm gonna, Captain bringing this one in for a landing. Captain Kirk bringing this one a landing for me. I think one of the kind of gut check things that I heard a long time ago, and I really had to examine it. It was that if you have trust issues, it probably means you're not trustworthy. And there were so many things that really stuck with me in terms of, man, maybe that's because I hold back. Maybe I don't trust people because I know consciously or subconsciously that I'm not bringing it all myself. And so, in order to get to the point where I am trustworthy to other people, or I begin to trust other people, I had to get to the point where doing the work myself, where I can be trustworthy with somebody else. Like I can look at somebody with integrity and say yes or say no to whatever it is, and have them know that they're getting the real deal. And so I think, that 50-50, it is a matter of, I don't trust, so I'm holding back some part of me. And the fact that I have the ability to hold back some part of me means you're never going to get all of me. And when this doesn't serve me in any moment, then my 50 is going to get, kind of drawn back a little bit. So that's where I'll leave that whole thing.
And when you don't trust, when you have the 50-50 like mentality, what you do is project. And that's why we see so many people today. I will if they need to serve me. I'll open up when they do X, Y, and Z. But you're coming in it from the wrong mentality, and you're projecting on them your past scars and wounds. This poor new person that's come into your life who did nothing to you is now having to pay for all the people in your past that had some sort of negative effect or negative input because you haven't dealt with that. When you've dealt with it, when you've done your work, when you've looked in the dark shadows of who you are and gone, oh, well, that was this and this is this, and you can actually pull those out and talk about them. Now you have much more wisdom and strength, and you are much more trustworthy, because I don't trust anybody that doesn't have some scars or any shadows in the past and they can't talk about it. Mm-hmm. If you can talk about it, then I know you've done the work and we can build something on that. And that is that.
Absolutely, man. That is some good stuff, man. So, hey, check us out, madmenradio.com. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out, Facebook, everywhere. Like, subscribe. Hey, you can find both of us in this here book, 7 Secrets of Modern Dating, Amazon #1 bestseller. If you've ever written a book, you don't get rich by writing a book. It's a great resource. There's a lot of input from a lot of good people in this book, including the two of us guys. And so holler at us, check us out. Let us know what you think. Let us know your opinions, whether you agree or disagree. And we may or may not reply depending on who you are. There's some people we just, yeah.
Just remember, come with respect. We love you. We love the feedback. Just come with respect, and we will respect you back. That's you give what you want to receive. So come at us with respect. You get respect back.
Absolutely.
I'm just saying.
And with that, Mad Men out.